Like and make sure to engage in comments and share this video to your friends and story lovers. And click on the subscribe button on the screen for more real and true stories like this. I didn't mean to lie. I really didn't. It just kind of happened. You ever find yourself in a moment where correcting someone feels like it would cause more chaos than just going with it? That's what this was, and I never thought it would go anywhere. I mean, how could it? I was just some guy sitting alone in a department store waiting for my sister to finish trying on clothes. And then she walked in. Not just any woman. She had this quiet kind of urgency to her, like she was on a mission but carrying something heavier than just shopping stress. She kept glancing at the racks like she was supposed to know what she was doing, but didn't. I could see the uncertainty in her hands every time she touched a hanger and moved to the next. Then, like a scene straight out of a movie, she looked at me. I didn't expect her to. Most people don't notice the guy just sitting by the mirror pretending to scroll through his phone, but she did. And she walked right over. "Excuse me," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Do you work here?" And right then, I had a choice. I could say no and probably never talk to her again. Or I could say yes and maybe help. Maybe. So I nodded. She smiled like she was relieved. "I need something for a dinner party. It's kind of important, but I hate shopping and nothing ever fits me right." There was something in her voice, something strained. Not just frustration, but sadness. And I didn't know why I cared, but I did. So I stood up, still not really believing what I was doing. I asked her what kind of dinner party it was. She hesitated before saying it was with someone important. "Someone I haven't seen in a long time," she said. "Someone I used to love." That caught me off guard. But I nodded like I understood because somehow I did. We spent the next 30 minutes walking the aisles. I'd suggest things. She'd laugh or shake her head. We joked a bit. I told her certain colors would make her eyes stand out more, and she rolled her eyes like she didn't believe me. But she smiled. She had this tired but grateful energy, like no one had paid her real attention in a while. She tried on a few dresses and came out to show me. I gave her honest feedback, probably more honest than a real employee would have dared. And when she finally stepped out in this navy blue off-the-shoulder dress, everything just stopped for a second. I didn't say anything at first. I just looked at her. She looked back a little nervous. "Is it too much?" she asked. "It's perfect," I said. She turned back to the mirror, and I could see her chest rise just a bit more confidently. She smiled at her reflection the way people do when they see a version of themselves they forgot was still in there. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Thank you for today. I know you're just doing your job, but thank you." And that's when I felt it. The twist in my gut, the guilt. But before I could say anything, she was back in the dressing room. I didn't want to ruin her mood. I didn't want to make it weird. So I never told her the truth. She paid for the dress, thanked me again, and left. That was supposed to be it. A strange, beautiful little moment between strangers. I thought she'd forget all about it by the time the weekend was over. I figured I'd just go back to my normal life and that memory would fade like all the others, but it didn't. I kept thinking about her that night, about how sad she looked at first, how something shifted when she found that dress. I couldn't explain why it stayed with me, but it did. And that would have been the end of the story, except 3 months later, I saw her again. She wasn't wearing that navy blue dress. In fact, she wasn't even shopping. She was standing outside the same Aunt Taylor holding a small white envelope, scanning the storefront like she was looking for someone. And this time she saw me first. I almost didn't recognize her at first. Same face, same eyes. But this time she looked different. Not just physically, emotionally, like something inside her had shifted since that first day. She looked stronger, clearer. But still, there was something behind her eyes that didn't let go. I didn't move. I wasn't even sure if I should, but then her eyes locked on mine, and just like that, she smiled. "You again," she said, walking up to me. I tried to smile back, but could already feel the awkwardness rising in my chest. "Hey," I said. "Didn't expect to see you again?" She held up the envelope. "I came to find you." I blinked. "You came here looking for me." She nodded. "I asked the manager if the guy who helped me last time was working today, and she looked at me like I was insane." I let out a breath and scratched the back of my neck. "Yeah, about that." She held up her hand, already smiling. "Don't. I know you don't work here." I froze. I figured it out the night of the dinner. She said there were too many things that didn't add up, but I didn't care. "You helped me in a way that no one else had, and I didn't want to ruin that." I looked at her for a second, then slowly nodded. I didn't mean to lie. It just happened. And then I couldn't figure out how to fix it without making it worse. She laughed softly. "I get it." There was a pause between us, a pause full of things unsaid. But she handed me the envelope. I didn't come here to call you out, she said. I came here because I owe you something. I opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter, 3 full pages. My name wasn't on it, neither was hers. But the words, they were raw, honest, vulnerable. The letter started by thanking me for helping her feel beautiful at a time when she felt invisible. She said I reminded her she was still someone worth noticing, worth showing up for, worth dressing up for. She wrote about the dinner party, the one she had mentioned that day. Turns out it wasn't just a reunion with an old flame. It was dinner with her ex-husband, the first time they'd spoken face to face since the divorce. She said she didn't know what she wanted out of it at the time. Closure, maybe, or just proof that she could walk into a room and hold her head up again. And she did, in that navy blue dress, with her hair pinned the same way I'd suggested. He couldn't take his eyes off me, she wrote, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't care what he thought. I liked how I looked. I liked how I felt. I didn't want to impress him. I wanted to remind myself of who I was. I swallowed hard as I kept reading. She talked about how her confidence that night sparked something in her. She started going out again, talking to people. She picked up painting again, a passion she'd dropped years ago. She started therapy. She called her sister, who she hadn't spoken to in over a year. I know you think you just helped someone pick out a dress, she wrote, but to me it was more than that. You reminded me I still had a pulse. By the time I finished the last page, I wasn't sure what to say. I stood there holding the letter, blinking back whatever emotion was forming behind my eyes, trying to act like I wasn't completely shaken. She gave me a soft smile. I just wanted to say thank you in person. All I could manage was a quiet, "You didn't have to." I did, she said. Because that day, you saw me when I didn't even see myself. We stood there in silence for a while. People walked past us, some with shopping bags, some looking for sales, most completely unaware of the moment happening right there on the sidewalk. But for me, it felt like the world had paused. Finally, she glanced down at her hands, then looked back up. "There's something else," she said. "Something I didn't put in the letter." I raised an eyebrow. She took a slow breath. I wasn't just sad that day because of my ex or because I didn't feel beautiful. I was sad because I was alone. I'd spent so long pretending I was okay that I forgot what it felt like to just talk to someone. And then she looked me in the eye. But that day, I wasn't alone. You didn't just help me find a dress. You kept me company. You made me laugh. You didn't make it weird or transactional. You made it human. And I swear I felt something move in my chest. I didn't know what to say to her in that moment. It's not often that a stranger walks into your life, shakes something loose inside you, and then thanks you for it. I thought about how small the moment had felt that day in the store. Me just sitting on a bench, her just asking for help. It wasn't meant to be anything significant. But maybe that's the thing. We never really know which moments are going to matter. Sometimes the life-changing stuff hides inside the most ordinary ones. I looked at her, standing there in front of me, holding the weight of that day and everything that came after. And suddenly it hit me. I didn't just help her that day. She helped me too. Back then, I was kind of drifting. Not broken, but definitely lost in some ways. I had my own quiet sadness, tucked behind jokes and distractions. I didn't talk about it. I didn't even acknowledge it, but I felt it. The weight of unspoken things, the pressure to seem okay all the time. Helping her gave me a sense of purpose. Just for that brief window of time, I was needed. I was useful. And not in some big showy way, but in a human way, a way that mattered. So I finally said it. That day meant something to me too. She nodded like she already knew. I asked her what she planned to do next, and she smiled again, wider this time. "I'm moving," she said. "Not far. Just enough to feel like I'm starting over. I'm opening an art studio. Nothing fancy, but it's mine." I could see it in her eyes, the excitement, the nervousness, but also the peace. She was doing something for herself finally. And it all started with a dress, with a moment, with someone choosing to care, even when they didn't have to. Then she looked at me, her voice soft. "You know, I never even got your name." I laughed. I guess I was too busy pretending to be an employee. We exchanged names finally, and for a moment, I wondered if this was the beginning of something else, something more. But it wasn't that kind of moment. It didn't need to be. It was the kind of moment you carry with you quietly, privately. Like a photo you never post, but always keep close. Before she walked away, she said one last thing. "The next time someone mistakes you for something you're not, maybe don't correct them right away. You might end up changing a life again." And just like that, she turned, walked away, and disappeared into the crowd. I stood there for a while, holding that envelope in my hand, thinking about all the tiny decisions that led to that day. How one simple, unplanned conversation created a ripple effect I never could have predicted. It made me realize how many moments we probably let pass by because we assume they're nothing. How many chances to show up for someone we miss because we're too focused on ourselves or too afraid to get involved. But here's the truth. Sometimes the most meaningful things we do don't look meaningful when they happen. They look like small talk, like awkward silences, like helping a stranger pick out a dress. We don't always get to know the impact we have, but that doesn't mean it isn't there. And maybe, just maybe, the best parts of life aren't the grand gestures or the loud achievements, but the quiet, almost invisible ways we show each other we care. So the next time you're in a place you don't expect and someone needs help, even if it feels small or awkward or strange, maybe just say yes. You never know what you'll be giving them. You never know what they might give back. Sometimes we're put in someone's life for just a moment, but that moment becomes the story they tell when everything changes. That day, she thought I worked at Ann Taylor, and for 30 minutes I pretended I did. But what we both walked away with was something neither of us had been looking for, but both of us desperately needed. That was satisfying, wasn't it? If this story moved you in any way, if it reminded you of someone, or made you think about your own small moments, feel free to tell me about it in the comments section. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing stories like this.